Ahoy there, Lorcana fans! Welcome back to another episode of the Camp Quest podcast. I am Ian, and of course, with me as always is my beautiful fiance, Lindsay.
Hi there.
We've got some fun stuff to talk about. It's been a minute. The holidays were crazy.
The holidays were crazy, and we played a lot of Lorcana. We played so much Lorcana that we didn't have time to record.
We actually we had this thing where it's like we only have so much time in the day between all of our responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like planning a wedding.
Yeah.
Like we both work full time, so
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we either are playing Lorcana to compete and prepare, or we're recording the podcast. And it was like, well, we had a DLC.
There's only so many hours one can allot to Lorcana in a given 24-hour day.
At least not without becoming wildly irresponsible.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, but we're back with another episode of this. These do take a little more time to set up and record and edit. So, we are trying to figure out the right cadence of them. We have been doing them like weekly for a while. I think we're kind of at the place where we're probably going to be doing them monthly for now. But of course, plenty of content on the YouTube channel. For those of you listening on the airwaves, right?
Feels like you can count on a monthly episode, and who knows, you might get a surprise episode every once in a while if there's something we're just really impassioned to get on here and talk about.
Well, and I think we'll probably do one right at or shortly after release date for Winterspell, so that will be coming up. But anyways, that's the update on the cadence. Today we're gonna send off Whispers in the Well meta, and kind of reflect on the highs, the lows, the excitement of this set, because it was an exciting one in a lot of different contexts, but especially for us. And then we're gonna look to the future, and we're gonna spend a lot of time talking through some of the big things that Winterspell is bringing to Lorcana now. I think that normally we will do a bulk bin where we will sort of do a little icebreaker fun activity, but I think because we have so much we want to cover, we're just going to jump right into the meat of the episode. So, Lindsay, take it away. What have we got going first? What are we starting with?
So I think the most important thing to start with is set champs.
That's true. We just did it.
We just did it, and it overlapped the DLC, so we got to have a week before and then some weeks after. I'm excited to talk about set champs because I won my first set champs. Yay! Always a bridesmaid, but I took home my beautiful mat. It's funny, I made the joke before this set that I was like, I don't have any attachment to Daisy Duck, so I don't really care about the mat this time. And I was like, this will be the one I win. Sure enough, and now I'm like, she's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
now you're fond of Daisy, yes.
So, and it was exciting because I won the first one locally. So it was the first tournament we played in, and so I had my beautiful Whispers in the Well set champs mat to take to the DLC the following week. So I was on Blurple. I knew, there's a video that we posted just yesterday or, 2 days from now, whenever this goes out, about kind of my journey and how, picking one deck, sticking with Blurple really led me to the success that I've had. So yeah, it was, I knew from the get-go that I would be playing Blurple, and all of the reps, all of the practice, I knew what the people in our area would likely be playing. So I teched for that, and it was a success. What about you? What was your set champs journey? It was a little different.
It was very different. And by the way, you can see we both made individual videos. Well, actually, I brought in our good friend Brian, and we did a shared video because we both had a similar experience with set champs. But while we each won, we kind of did it very different ways, and you can see those broken out into more detail. Lindsay had just did an amazing video kind of giving some advice of going from zero to hero, right? Having never played a TCG ever before, when we first started playing Lorcana when it came out, to now winning her first set championship, and some advice for new players that are just getting into the hobby in terms of how to find your way as a competitive player. I think really, really good video. Brian and I took a completely different tack. We just sat there. Hers is
I was grinding reps of one deck.
Right. Well, and even your video was a tight 11 minutes, and ours we just sat there and yapped for 40 minutes. So very different vibes. But no, I played. So it's funny. I started the season playing dogs. By the time set champs and the DLC Richmond rolled around, was had a pretty big target on its back, and of course a lot of people in the area know that I play dogs, and so I was seeing, not just locally but even when I played in the DLC, and we'll talk about that in a minute, there was just a lot of tech for dogs that was just kind of hard to overcome. So I just, on a day or two before, I swapped to Purple Steel, which I had spent a lot of the set not really intending to play, but serving as the the punching bag for everybody to test against, because Purple Steel was such a strong, powerful deck, that I just switched to Purple Steel, and then bing, bang, boom, won a set champs. So weird one for me, because it's not really a deck that I love. Purple Steel is kind of a deck that I tolerate, but it's very good. And it's hard to deny that.
You can't deny that it's good. It's just... It's you know, it can be. I mean, look, and I don't want to offend anybody that loves the deck. It definitely has. It's got a lot of reasons to like the deck. I personally, it's not my preferred play style. It's not my preferred. You know, I'm not really a Steel player, just in general. I've played it before, and I will absolutely play it again, but it's not my favorite color to play. I like a little more nuanced stuff. I'm a ruby and green, ruby and emerald. I like the flashy plays. It's true. So anyways, those set champs was super fun. We played in a bunch. We've got a bunch of daisies. I got to pull the Ian, where I got to the set champs that I played after the fact. I got to play fun decks, and I played Ruby Sapphire, which I got to play a little bit we'll talk about the DLC in a minute. But that was big. It was fun to play with our Maleficent or Enchanted Maleficent.
Oh yeah. And
I lost every single game, but it was a good time.
It is a good time to be able to just chill and play other things. I actually got to do that myself. I went and played in a set champs the following weekend after I won my playmat. So this last weekend, I went and played in one just for fun and to support the community. Again, we want the attendance. We want the stores to keep supporting it. So I go to as many as I can reasonably make just to keep supporting all these stores in our area that run them. And I played the Amber Sapphire Detectives deck. That was played to a day 2 finish at DLC Richmond, and oh my gosh, that deck I had been kind of playing most of the week or two leading up to it, and Lindsay in fact had to make me not play it at the set champs that I was going to try to win. I did eventually win with Purple Steel, but Lindsay was like, no, you can't do that. But I went,
you just didn't have the reps.
Right, that's fair.
You gotta have the reps.
And 1 week later I had played it quite a bit, and I made Top Cut with it. And I did decide, because my opponent in Top Cut had not won a mat yet this set. I did scoop and let them play it out for the playmat, but it was amazing all the way through Swiss. It was ridiculously fun, so fun. And so I'm really excited for that going forward. And I even got to put my own spin on it. I put a Black Cauldron in, which just one copy of Black Cauldron, and it won me multiple games into the Blurple matchup, which just felt so cool bringing Hades back. I even had a turn or two where I had a game, because that game kind of grinds, where I was able to stuff 3 or 4 things into it, and because that deck gets so much ink, at one point I just buy 4 things out of the cauldron at once.
It
was super fun, so had a blast with that, and but that was set champs,
right?
Good
I was gonna say, I mean, we previewed a little bit. So the DLC Richmond, it obviously was here in our hometown. I was able to get a ticket last minute, which was exciting. It was funny, I was really kind of I just I hadn't lucked out on getting a ticket. I was I'll cheer the rest of everybody else on, but about 2 weeks out, or a week or so out, I grabbed a ticket, which was really great, because then I mean, we spent a lot of time testing with our team. New Year's Day we were out there grinding matches.
Oh my gosh.
So
all day.
All day we
man, so fun.
We were grinding matches. But I think there is something, if you ever have the chance to enjoy a DLC in or around your hometown, there is nothing like it.
It is, dare I say it, magical.
It is magical.
Yes.
You get all of the, because I think I had reached this point of obviously I want to play competitively and enjoy it, but like I recognize that I'm going home to my own bed and like eating dinner at my house or, you know, whatever.
Yes.
Versus like
you know where to go.
You know where to go, you know where to park, you know how to get around.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was such a blast.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we both left the weekend just like on
so
a
energized.
high and so energized from the game. I mean, I want to talk about our experience, like what it was like,
For
you
sure.
know. I think it was really interesting to get to meet so many people and to like talk about. I gave so many restaurant recommendations.
That's what I did. I was about to say it was like
to
all
other competitors,
the people that I ran into. Like, and the thing is, and for anybody that's playing one of these events, at least what I do, you sit down across from your opponent and you're competing for something, and they know it, and you know it.
Yeah.
But I find it's nice to kind of break the ice a little bit.
Yeah.
And the thing I always do is I sit down, I say hi, I introduce myself, and I say, where are you from? And I've done that at each of the events that we've gone to in the past. And it's always cool to see where people are from, you know, and at least, you know, we wish them safe travels after the match, win or lose, right? But I tell you what, it was really fun to be the person that was like, hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from San Antonio, Texas. Where are you from? I'm local.
Yeah.
I'm from here. Do you have any questions?
10 minutes down the road.
Yeah. And
the worst was when somebody was talking about the location in Richmond where the convention center is definitely
sketchy.
Like, it's kind of the sketchy inner city. So, and there's not a ton to do right around where the convention center is. And so I spent a lot of time being like, no, Richmond is a fantastic city. We love it here.
Yeah, defending it.
Just like hop in an Uber, go 10 minutes. These are the places you can go. Like,
and it was, and you know, it was multiple people that I'm like, they were like, where do I go to do stuff?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got you.
Right.
Here you go. Go to this place, go to this area. It's super fun.
Yeah.
Plenty of good, you know, bars, restaurants, breweries, good stuff.
Well, and I think the biggest, like, one of the best pieces of it was getting to really enjoy all of the side events. So we had the full day Friday side events, and like, you know, neither of us ended up making it to day 2. So we got to enjoy the full day of side events on Sundays, because you're not worried about traveling. You're not worried about any of that stuff. You're like, this is what I'm here. I'm hanging out. It's what I'm doing. And so I think like really getting to play. So we played a team trios on Friday, which was really fun.
Well, and being them opening it up for Friday side events compared to Milwaukee, they did not have that, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
And it was a game changer for a lot of reasons.
Yes.
And not only did it kind of make it a fun 3-day weekend basically for us, and a lot of our friends, we worked. So I worked a half day.
Yeah, I did the same.
Because I work remote. And but a lot of our friends took the day off and went and played in the what do you call it? The promo quest.
Yeah, exactly.
Tournament, 7 rounds, I think. And
we're pretty successful.
Actually, I think 2 of our friends won enough to get the promos.
Yeah, I think so.
So really super cool. A lot of them love that. But we just went and played.
Yeah. We did Team Trios event. It was really funny because so we played a Team Trios event on Saturday and Friday, and we also played one on Sunday. And the vibe between Friday versus Sunday was very different.
Yeah.
Not that everybody we played against was wonderful and delightful, but there was definitely like we went Friday thinking like this is a fun side event, like we're just hanging out, and like people were there to like they were locked in.
And we're playing a meta within the sort of side event.
What was it? Ruby Amethyst, Dogs, and Blue Steel?
Blue Steel. And so like almost everyone we played against and had that 3 deck combo.
Meanwhile, we were playing Steel Song, Inkcaster, and
Red Blue
Control. So
and we did fine. We went 2-1.
Yep.
And it really the only tough thing was the round where we all paired into the wrong thing. So it was like Inkcaster auto loses to Dogs, Red Blue auto loses to the one round. Oh no, I was against Blue Steel, which was fine.
Yeah.
And it was Ruby Amethyst against Amber Steel Songs.
Yes.
Which is just basically close to an auto loss. And so that one was over quick.
Yeah, but it was fun. I got to sit next to Ed Chu during one of the games, he was playing in the event that same event we were playing in. So got to meet a few people and have some fun playing. I mean, we're big fans of the team trios setup. We had a lot of fun playing that. That's why we did it twice.
Yeah. It's also just a vibe. Like being able to sit down next to your friends and chit chat while you play and like compare like, oh, what do you think I should do here? Oh, what do you think I should do there? It really is. I just can't describe how, especially when you're doing it with your close friends, you're like, this is so fun.
And it was so fun. Like it was great because Gibby sat in the middle.
Yes.
So Ian's friend Gibby, I mean, he's our friend.
Yeah.
Gibby
yeah. But I've known him for forever.
Right.
So yeah,
and so he was playing Inkcaster competitively, so I could ask him for advice, and then he could ask, like, there was just like him and Ian were talking back and forth, and so but like he would lean over every once in a while and ask me questions, and it felt nice to just be helpful. Like, I was like, oh yeah, no, so it was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing that on Friday. Then we came back and we hung out, we had a fire, and then it was Saturday was game day. So
we played the main event.
Had a good time. Like, you know,
a lot of our group was really close to making day 2.
Yeah.
2 people from Richmond did make day 2. So congrats to Patrick and Stephanie.
Yep.
And we I mean, it really, for our group, 2 of our players were right down to the wire. Gibby was playing our friend Gibby was playing Inkcaster, and he was 5-2 and lost his winning in, unfortunately, in a really close one. And then our friend Emmett, who's 12.
Yep, he's 12. So youngest, by far the youngest member of our
and
team.
Had the best record. And was 5-2 and barely lost a game 3
to detectives,
to Blue Steel detectives. Yes. And so he was playing.
Poor guy was like, I don't know what to play. I don't know how to react to this.
Yeah. That wasn't on our testing.
He did a great job.
He did fantastic. So several of us finished. Everyone in our group finished 4-4 or better.
Yeah.
Multiple of us finished 5-3, including myself, but I had been eliminated much earlier than that. But I wanted to keep playing, especially while waiting for people. And I was pretty proud to be able to kind of turn the day around and finish strong. So yeah, that was it was a good time. Yeah. The meta was interesting. I personally had a frustrating day from like a competitive perspective because I had chosen to stick with dogs despite the widespread, sort of target on its back. It's a deck that I'd played just so much, and I knew I could play it at a very high level. But that was obviously not the call of the day, and I just ran into way too many bad matchups or matchups that were specifically targeting dogs with powerful tech cards like Spooky Sights and Scuttles. Scuttles as far as the eye can see. So anyways, it was an interesting experience, but honestly, as frustrating as Saturday was for me personally, Sunday completely rejuvenated me.
Yeah,
like
we
completely
had such a great day
healed my soul.
And it's funny because we were like, when do we want to show up? And we hung out, we played a draft, we did
another team trios.
Played another team trios with our friend Brian.
Fun. Yep.
I think we ran back the same color combination, but totally different decks.
No. Yeah, totally different decks, same color combination.
I went undefeated on the day playing Ruby Sapphire. I was having a grand old time.
Yeah, we went undefeated in that event. And so that was really cool. And what we did, which was really fun for us, because keep in mind, most of the people in our play group, this was, and especially our locals, this was their first DLC. We've been to them before.
Right.
I've had this hat for a while, right? Yeah. So all of them are trying to get tickets to collect the swag, and we were just like, okay, we'll play these events and funnel tickets to people.
We have our promos. We're good.
Yeah, and so I think we got 1 or 2 little things. We got you the Elsa pen, stuff like that. But like we were like, let's help everybody have a great experience, and so we're just playing side events with whoever wants to play side events, filling out their group. I played I played a little bit of Pack Rush, which I like. The way they had set up the on-demand was way better than the way they had done it previously.
I think in general you could say
everything was better run, in my opinion.
Everything this turn, and I get it. Each event you throw, you learn from the last one, and but I was really impressed with how well run the event was.
Yeah, honestly, like there was a little bit of delays during the day, but honestly, it still finished much earlier than the previous events that we'd been to. So, yeah, I like that. But oh my gosh, Pack Rush was really fun, and I pulled a Enchanted next stop Olympus in the middle of it, and then turned around and we went and sold most of our Enchanteds.
Yeah,
because we don't really play with Enchanteds unless they're like the ones you get from
the set champs
ones, just because like they're not as valuable and they're kind of like fun trophies. But we made a nice tidy little profit that we could turn around and spend with vendors to fill out our play sets of like competitive cards. So like got our second play set of Dumbos, which I need for if I ever want to play purple.
For the record, we bought all 8 Dumbos that we own.
Oh yeah, we never
had to this day have pulled a Dumbo.
With all the Fabled we opened. And it was a lot. I think we opened more Fable than any other set.
Yeah.
And we never opened Dumbo.
Saw a single Dumbo.
That's neither
but
here nor there.
But it's fine. We're not bitter about it.
Just a lot lighter in the pocket.
We had a lot of luck. We pulled 2 Enchanted Demonas this set.
That's true.
We got to turn Enchanted Demonas into Dumbos. So.
That's true. That was really good. We had a great time. A lot of other players in our area had a good time too. I know, and it really was a special experience, like I mentioned before, being the locals and being able to chat to people about stuff like that, tell people where to go and whatnot. It was a really amazing experience, and I cannot. Obviously, if it's going to be in your area, you obviously sign up and go. Even if it's not, and if you are wondering what it's like, and if you're thinking about going to one in the future, like I can't recommend it enough, especially and if you do go, budget enough time to play on Friday and Sunday.
Yeah, give yourself the time. Yeah. Like, make a trip out of it and commit to, like, getting to spend some time there.
Experiencing it in the side events.
Leave
and all
on
that
Monday.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that was great. Yeah.
Well, and that brings an end to the Whispers in the Well set. So I think it's time that we reflect on what the legacy of Whispers in the Well. So I know you have a lot of strong thoughts on how it'll impact the metagame. Definitely a lot of meta warping cards that entered play. So I'm curious, what your general thoughts on how this will affect play for the next 2 years.
Well, that's like the interesting thing, right? Is that so much meta relevant cards came out that are going to be around for so long, right? Because they're not going to rotate in the fall; they're going to rotate the following fall. And so obviously that's good. It's good that they had a high powered set with a lot of viable cards. I'll touch on this a little bit in a minute, but in general, I felt like this was a huge upgrade over the Fabled metagame, which was very small field, right? You really didn't have a lot of high power level options. It was kind of like Blurple, Purple Steel Dogs. Maybe you could play an Emerald Steel Chromacon deck did okay at the DLC in Milwaukee, right? Ruby Amethyst wasn't really put together at the time. You had you were just missing a lot. You had a little bit of Blue Steel Jasmine allies, but by and large, Amber Steel aggro was a thing, but it was very polarized. So you had a lot of polarized matchups, and a small field, which felt really tough when you're okay, what am I taking to this tournament? I know that I'm gonna have to luck out in that way, and you just didn't see as much experimentation. You didn't see as much nuance in the deck building because you had such a small field. Everybody knew exactly what they wanted to try to prepare for, right? This was totally different. So many decks that were either competitively viable. We saw a lot of experimentation within those lists and permutations. Obviously, the card pool being one set bigger helped, but I do think that like also you saw variants of different decks. So we saw a lot of experimentation within the blue steel archetype, which started off the set like very homogenous. By the end of the set, you had detective variant, you had a 2/4/6 with Cindy variant, you had the low to the ground allies with Jasmine and Lexingtons and stuff, all within the same color combination, right? And you can say similar things about other decks, like where the tech cards within them mattered. Even within dogs, like you saw some really great players like Diego, for instance, like actually kind of got ahead of the meta game and was able to like change dogs to focus less on Chromacon and more on Under the Sea, and then that changes the archetypes. You had Circle of Life dogs, which was played at certain points. Circle dogs, just a lot of really cool depth and opened up new archetypes. We had Ruby Amethyst, we had Emerald Amethyst, both Inkcaster and the boost tempo build, but also that had Prince Philip. So is it controlled? Is it mid range? It's really hard to tell. Right. And so a lot of those decks kind of coming back in, and even by the end, Sapphire, Amber, Princesses / also you had the Detectives build that I mentioned earlier. Just so much more depth in the field, which is just good for the game. Right.
There were definitely some decks that were all around. Like, obviously there were some decks that were very prevalent, but I think at the end of the day, you could show up with any kind of deck. Like there was, I think most of them showed up in some way, shape, or form. So
I do think like the bar to compete with the deck got it's not that it got lowered. It's just that everything started. Most of the ink combinations had ways to get above that bar. And it might not have been a S tier deck. In fact, many of them weren't. But you also could attack the metagame in interesting ways because of the tools that have been added. Things like Horseman Strikes massively opened up the ability for Amber decks to play mid-range styles, like the Amber Amethyst Lantern build, right? Which is targeting heavily the purple decks in the format, right? And you saw the same thing with the Amber Sapphire deck. So, they really designed Whispers quite well. I also think that, purely from an aesthetic perspective, highly collectible, beautiful artwork. I still sit here and I'm like, it's really tempting. It's really hard not to just go out and buy 4 Enchanted Headless Horsemen because the artwork is so darn good, right? And you can say that for a lot of the things in there. I also think underrated that I wanted to talk about is obviously the new mechanics were really exciting. Boost is a fantastic mechanic and a step in the right direction for Lorcana, I think, because it asks. It offers players ways to spend their ink without having to expend a card from hand, which then minimizes, to a certain degree, the impact of card draw. It will never eliminate the impact of card draw. Obviously, card draw is the best thing in a TCG, where, you got to play cards. Right. But it does give you things to do on your turn. And even we saw this in a microcosm with Emerald Amethyst control, where a lot of times you play a Flynn Rider on 1 and the ability to boost it on 2 and buff its stats up to now it looks like a 2-drop.
Right.
That's actually really impactful, less so because of what it can do as a 2-drop and more because you don't have to expend a card for a turn.
Right.
You can build that hand size up, right? So there's a lot of really cool things that Boost offered, and then of course we had the Gargoyles mechanics.
Well, and I think Boost offered the way you were adding cards to a card it made bounce mechanics kind of interesting. It was a way to cheat out card draw by being able to bounce a card you've boosted once or twice.
Yeah.
It can change the way you can manipulate something, or you have to think twice about using Hades or Into the Unknown on a character that's been boosted, because now you might be giving them 3 ink rather than just 1.
The counterplay that it made for the 7-drop Hades was hugely important in my opinion. Yeah, I totally agree. That's a great point.
It was a really cool mechanic, and I just think in general, I was so confused when they first previewed the boost, but I seen it and having played with it, I think it's a really cool mechanic, and I'm excited that they're continuing it in the next set.
Yeah, and I also think they did a good job with the tribal tags, so Gargoyles and Detectives as well. Even the champions, and I'm gonna highlight that in a second, but all of those were well received. They made for exciting gameplay. Actually, the Gargoyles were way more interesting than I thought, mostly because of Demona and Lexington, but the ability to play a Demona and lock down other gargoyles felt really cool, and Goliath was also really quite powerful as well. So they did a really good job with that. The only thing that I think goes underrated here is actually we got to draft it.
Oh yeah.
At the DLC, we got to get a little pod of friends together and draft it, and it was the most enjoyable drafting experience I've ever had in Lorcana, and it competes with some of my favorite drafting card games ever.
Yeah.
This set was like, I don't say this lightly, in my opinion, a 10 out of 10 drafting experience.
Yeah.
And it's because
we had so much fun, we're hosting another one.
We're hosting one at our store.
Instead of League.
Because everybody had just so much fun, and we want to replicate that. And it's because of the way they designed the set. You had these, you had synergy, you had a mixture of synergy and good stuff, but a lot of things like detectives, a lot of things like gargoyles, boost, all of them sort of fed into each other. And those are things you can draft. The champions is what Lindsay broke wide open.
Yeah, I the first pack I opened had a Pluto Steel champion, and I was like, cool, that's the deck I'm gonna build. I'll just take all the steel cards out.
And you can do that, and you can draft that way. And so, like, obviously Sealed is very fun. And I thought Fabled was a great sealed set.
Yeah,
because it had a lot of like generic cards that didn't require synergy. And cards you knew that you played with before. So there was this,
like, you knew how to build around certain cards, at least for me who gets a little overwhelmed when it comes, like, I'm not sure that I'm good at building a sealed deck or even a drafting deck. It's kind of like they have to make so many decisions so quickly or whatever, but like playing Sealed with Fabled was really interesting because you're like, I know these cards, I know how to fit them into a strategy, and then with with this set, the drafting was just a really cool setup, and like each of our decks were very different, but a lot of fun, so much fun.
Yeah. I think that the only concern I have, the only maybe negative that we can talk about, and I don't think this is truly Whisper's fault, but it certainly contributed, is something that's been talked about a lot on the internet. I'm sure you can do a cursory search in the Lorcana channels and find somebody who has posted a video, something to the extent of the problem with purple.
Yeah.
Right? It's everywhere. It's on everybody's mind, but by the end of the set, like, it became very clear that, like, we've lived in purple metagames before.
Yeah.
It's always been one of the strongest colors, and it's always been very stable.
It's always been a really strong, like, supporting color, I felt, because it had the card draw.
It has a very high floor because of card draw.
Correct. But now I feel like this past set has just broke it wide open.
Well, and the fact that you can...
because you already had good cards in purple, and then it was like, all of these are a bop.
The fact that you can take a deck like Amber Sapphire Detectives or Amber Amethyst, which, like, is just worse blurple unless you're playing against another purple deck, and have great tournament success purely because those have good purple matchups. Like, the fact that you can do that is an indicator that perhaps purple has been a beneficiary of some really powerful and borderline broken cards. I mean, this set alone added a ton of new tools to an already powerful ink color that in Fabled led the metagame pretty heavily with Blurple and Purple Steel. But not just on top of Dumbo and Genie and Elsa and the regular gang, Iago, right? But now we saw the introduction of Demona. We saw the introduction of the 5-drop Hades. So both legendaries, incredibly impactful and easy to work into a deck list. Did not require a lot of investment. The Cheshire Cat was a card that, like, I don't think a lot of people realized just how good it was going to be. I remember, and I'm going to throw, I think, Gibby under the bus a little bit here, but, like, I remember, like, us talking about Cheshire Cat. He's like, yeah, it's cute, but, like, it'll never be played over Bell.
Yep.
And
as a diehard Bell fan, she came out of the deck for the DLC. I ran 4 copies of the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, and but it's like, and a lot of people weren't sure how Boost was going to work or not work, how effective a card like Cat was going to be versus Bell. But obviously, as we well know, that might be one of, if not the best cards in the game right now. It's just wildly useful in so many different situations. Guidebook. just as if it needed more card draw.
Unsingable friends.
Right. Unsingable friends is,
I mean,
and you can actually, and there's upside to being able to place it on the board and not have to trigger it.
Correct.
Right. And so it can actually let you.
Wasn't a lot of item removal.
Well, and even lets you give a little bit of subtle counterplay to Big Clarabelle or Goliath or things that would make you either discard your hand or things that would like penalize you for having a big hand. Right.
Yeah.
So.
And, like, I know Tamatoa came out of Blurple. Like, he wasn't really the meta call for Blurple. But there
totally
was a time that we were
back.
playing, and it felt pretty broken to, like, play a free guidebook and pop it for one.
It's just that there's so much card draw on top of already, and this is, I think, the bigger problem. I think the bigger problem has less to do with it being the card draw color, but it's the fact that it's the card draw color and the evasive color.
Yeah.
And evasive is such a powerful, and I had hoped that Lorcana would learn its lesson from other card games, but every card game I've ever played that has what originated in Magic with a flying mechanic, basically characters that can only be interacted with in combat if they have flying or evasive or elusive from LOR or whatever. All of those things tend to like compound themselves, and the more of those things you print, the more other decks have to waste card slots on things that deal with it.
Right.
And it pushes down other colors or other archetypes that don't have answers to those things that might otherwise be good.
Yeah.
There's a reason why decks like Ruby Steel, which while yes, card draw is difficult for them, part of the reason card draw is difficult for them is because they are forced to include anti-evasive cards that are awkward for them. It fills up deck slots, right? And it's the same thing that you'll see in a lot of other colors that it's like, okay, but how do you solve the evasive problem? And not only has that, so not only do they have near infinite card draw, not only do they have a very difficult to interact with keyword that forces decks to compromise their deck building integrity in order to include answers, right? But it also now has one of the best damage movement cards in the game that can be played at multiple stages and can be used multiple times per turn in Cheshire Cat. And it has one additional way on top of the 5-drop Elsa to exert your opponent's characters so that you can attack them. And so all of that is native to the same color. I think that that's a big problem and something that I'm hoping to see them fix going forward. Now, again, I don't think that Whispers in the Well should be denigrated because of that. I have been on the record, and I'm going to say this again as we wrap this segment up, like, I think Whispers in the Well is overall, within the context of standard constructed and where we are post-rotation, I think it is the best set Lorcana has ever created. I had some of the most fun. I think it has objectively been very healthy for the game. I think that the legendaries felt worth the money that you were paying to buy in open packs. I thought that they created some really enjoyable gameplay and that I thought that it made for great limited experience. So I think that they knocked it out of the park with Whispers, and I'm really hopeful to see something similar with Winterspell. But either way, rest in peace, Whispers in the Well meta. I'm looking forward to Winterspell, but I just want to one more time shout out, honestly, to the Lorcana devs. Yeah. Shout out to Ravensburger. You put together a great set, and I am the first person who's going to criticize when I think things aren't good. So I have to be the first person to give props when something's really well done. So
yeah. I mean, that's tie a little bow on it. And so now we get to look forward to Winterspell.
Yeah.
The next set that'll be here in just a couple of weeks. So, you know, we aren't doing kind of card ratings or a buyer's guide or anything like that because we don't have the full set. It's not been released. But you can't help. I mean, the spoilers have been coming out. And so, like, if you don't want spoilers.
We're close to all of them, I think.
I think we're pretty close to a lot, yeah. So if you don't want spoilers, this is just your moment to warning. Stop listening because we are going deep into the spoilers that we have seen. Like what we want to do basically is talk about kind of the cards that we think are going to have the biggest impact, or like the mechanics that are going to have the biggest impact on the game, highlight sort of the design direction. And, you know, we have some speculation on what we think,
some theories,
what this means for competitive play. So, you know, what are some of the first things that you're kind of noticing and paying attention to?
Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting is that this is the set where seem to be. This is a set where they are doing something that they kind of first did with set 7 and 8, where they introduce something new and then they double down on it and reinforce it in the following set. And I think that's really healthy for a game. A lot of games, and I don't want to get into other games, but a lot of other games that I've played had the classic problem that I think, in my opinion, Lorcana sort of had earlier in the game's existence, where
each set it was a new thing.
Each set's a new thing. They introduce something and then they fade it the next set and then it never comes back around. They did a lot of that with locations, where they were like, here's locations and a bunch of location support, and then you never saw any more location support.
You get like 1 or 2 locations here and there, but it really wasn't a whole lot.
And it wasn't dedicated. And I get that, like, early on in a game's existence, you have to like feel out, like, you kind of have to learn what's good in the game and why, what's fun and good, what's fun and unhealthy, right? And so, like, or what's good but not fun, right? And so, like, they have to do that learning experience, and I think we're finally at the place where we're benefiting from that, like, experience. And so obviously now we had Boost, Gargoyles, and Detectives last set. We get more love for all of them. And I think that, like, it's really cool for me, especially because if you've seen some of the other videos on the YouTube channel, you'll know I like to do theme decks and package them up, a lot of commons, uncommons, package them up for new players, hand it to them, and they can kind of feel like they're playing out a movie or playing with, like, mostly a single franchise. And now it's even easier to do that. I'll be able to make, I'll have more choices for Detectives, which is one I'd already made. I think Gargoyles finally, I think, has enough cards to be able to do that with some of the additional cards, but especially I think it's Angela or something like that. It's like the opposite of Demona. But basically,
that just came out.
Yeah,
that just got previewed today.
But I was really excited because it means I can finally do a Gargoyle theme deck, which multiple people have been asking for.
Right, because she takes away the stone by day.
She takes away stone by day, right? And so really cool for that ability, and has a very strong effect on entry. It gives Challenger 2 and Resist 2 for a whole turn. Amazing.
On these overset and meat sticks to begin with.
Right. Yes. So really, really excited for some of those things, the Detectives as well. Boost is the most interesting one to me, though, because of how much more Boost and how many more, like, either like enabler cards or payoff cards they're including, and we'll get into it a little bit later, but like multiple legendaries committed to the Boost mechanic, like multiple new powerful targets, like with Boost or things that put cards underneath your stuff in different ways. Now, granted, it's spread out across most of the ink colors, but still, like, some really powerful and unique ways to use Boost and to incentivize people to include them in their deck. Is there enough to make an entire deck out of? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. But even if there's not, the enhanced suite of Boost options, in the same way that I, like, hyped up how I think that, like, putting giving players ways to use their ink outside of playing a new card from hand is healthy. I think we can see that across the board in a lot of these new cards. Like, I am optimistic about, like, Willie, who is a 7/7 that quests for 2, but he can only quest or challenge if you've boosted him this turn, or if you put a card underneath him this turn, of which means you can either boost him from his boost effect, or you can put a card underneath him for other things. But obviously you would look at that card and you think, maybe this doesn't see a ton of play. But what it does do is it tells your opponent, hey, if you turn your thing to the side, I can just boost him and take it out. Now, I may not want to do that. Maybe you're okay with that, and if I boost him, then I'm not paying. I'm not playing a 5-drop next turn. But it asks the question in a really unique way, because it gives somebody a tool that they can use. Other than just playing a new card from hand that's a mystery card. So I really like the layer that it's adding to it. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I think the Boost in general has been interesting to watch. Like, it is another decision that you get to make both as a player and watching your opponent.
And I'm really excited too, because there's more cards. So there's like 3 types of Boost characters, or locations now, which is actually really cool. They actually introduced some locations with Boost. One of which, the Graveyard of Christmas Future, I think is like sneaky interesting. I don't know that it'll be. I think it has real prime post-rotation candidacy. Like, I think post-rotation could be very good. But either way, I think that, like, the there's three main types. There's the kind that says while there's any card underneath it, there's a status effect. Does not benefit from more cards being placed underneath it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the kind that we saw a lot of play with things like Cheshire Cat, where the act of putting something underneath it then gives you an effect. So Simba, Cheshire Cat, things like that. And now there's a third, and I don't know if we had any like this before, but now there's some that for each card underneath it, something happens. So there's some great ones. There's the
which incentivizes you to the continuing to boost. So
yes, exactly. And so like there's one that just got previewed today that I'm really excited for, which is a Scrooge McDuck, who's like the future Scrooge from the Christmas Carol, where like he's counting all of his money and whatever. He's a 2-cost uninkable ruby card. 3/3 stats, so already good. But for every card underneath him, he has +1/+1. So obviously, like stacking more cards, he gets more money, he gets more powerful. It's really unique, and there's a few other cards like that in the format. So I'm really excited about the direction to take boost, and I'm secretly hopeful that they don't maybe need to go all in on it like they've done these last two sets, but I hope we see more boost cards now and again over the for the future. I think it's just such a strong mechanic. That like why give it up,
Yeah, for sure. Well, and we're seeing some more locations back in, so locations are getting some love. They're seeing some additional investment there, like you said, and with some cool new abilities like boosting locations, and we're getting some cards with some location effects. They're kind of bringing it back, so I'm curious, where do you think that they're going to find the most success with bringing these locations back?
Yeah, they seem to be focusing it primarily around green, purple, and red is where it seems to be, with a little bit maybe of steel as well. So like I don't think that there's enough really for them to do anything with blue or yellow, and it doesn't really fit into their existing identities. But they've dabbled with location support in all of the other colors before. And what's really cool about it is that there's reasons to play it in each of those things. In Ruby, you have some very powerful locations already, like Sleepy Hollow, and then you have the Get to Safety card. If you want to see one of those decks like in gameplay, we recorded a gameplay video. Go to the YouTube channel, check it out. You can see that in action. So you already have that from last set, but you also have this new Elsa shift line. You have the 3-drop that comes into play. It's kind of like the 3-drop lady, where lets you pay 2 less for the next location this turn. So obviously on 3 you can bring it in and play a 2-cost location for free. On 4 you can play it and bring in a 3-cost location, so it lets you cheat those into play faster, right? So there's some great reasons to play it there, as well as like the new shift Elsa comes in. It can exert people whenever it comes into play, or whenever you play a location, and it quests for like 4 if it's on a location. So like there's payoffs there now, right? But then you have purple, where again, not only do you have there's purple, which you have the Twisted Vine location and a few other like cheap quester locations, Fairy Ship and stuff. So you can spam those out, and you have the benefit of being an Amethyst, which has so much card draw, but it does have maybe the least amount of like hard payoffs. But you could pair it with one of these other colors. Like for instance, if you pair it with Ruby, you can have more Elsas to be the shift target for the red shift Elsa that supports locations. You also have the library, which is such a fantastic location. In Emerald, you have some great synergies. Like you have the Goofy and the Daisy Duck from previous sets that draw cards for interacting with locations. That's really nice, right? And then you actually have the transport pod, which is really interesting. It's an item, but you can move to like different locations at the start of your turn. So that's really cool. And then of course in Steel, you have John Silver. One of the biggest location payoffs historically, as well as obviously access to steel removal, and some good locations like the Illuminary Tunnels, like the Seven Dwarfs Mine, and even like a cheap one in Zootopia from last set. So there's a lot of ways that you can kind of weave those together, and I think that we can see location decks pop up in any of those combinations. Not sure which one's going to be best yet, but like really promising. And one more thing that's cool about locations is it's similar to boost cards. It gives you a way to use your ink outside of playing another card, because you can use your ink to move people to locations.
Right.
And I do think that the design team, we hyped them up last set for figuring out how to design good item cards.
Right.
And I think it's worth hyping them up again for designing locations, or at least giving a stab at designing locations that actually incentivize you to move people there. Right? And incentivize you to have people there in ways that they have now a clearer understanding of what it means and the cost benefit analysis of putting a location that can't hit back, and the cost benefit of like moving people onto something on top of having to play it. And now they're kind of factoring that into the pricing better. So we're seeing locations that there's a much better chance of you actually being able to use them. Do I think that they will be super meta dominant? No. Locations are by far the weakest type of card in Lorcana, but they have use cases now. So like you can totally see, in the same way we see library get good success across the across the board, there are now more locations designed like library, not always in the card draw component, but designed, they have an understanding of like when people want to move to and from it, the value that takes, and like what's a fair price for that effect. So I think they're doing a really good job of that. Yeah.
Well, and another cool new tag characteristic we've seen is this underdog.
Yeah.
So we had that spoiled. There's been a ton of talk about the whole, going first in Lorcana is inherently by itself, there's just too much of an advantage of being able to go first. And so it's really interesting to see these underdog cards that are basically a 2-drop that can be played for 1. And we've got one now for each of the colors.
Yes.
And so I think, do you think this is going to help the play draw discrepancy? Have we fixed it? Like, we don't have to worry about it anymore? Or do we need more of these? Like, what are your thoughts?
I don't think this will fix it by itself. I think it'll be a step in the right direction. I think the goal of this, I don't know this. I don't have an inside line to the devs. I wish I did. Feel free to give me an inside line, devs, if you're listening. I would love to. I would love to get on the phone and chat Lorcana. But no, I don't think this is going to fix it right away. What I do think is that it is going to fix specific decks that can utilize these cards. One of the things that you notice is that they are very they're all 2-drops, and they all come in on turn 1 if you're going second, only on turn 1. Now I think that there could be some benefit in the future to cards that, like, say they have cost 1 less if you went second this game. That would be a much more interesting discussion. I think that what's going on here is a really important step by the devs to not swing it too far the other way right away. They need data. So they need to use these as a litmus test to determine, hey, did this move the needle? Even if it doesn't move the needle all the way, is this the right approach to changing play draw? So this takes time. And I think this is a really strong step in the right direction and a cool way to experiment with the idea of, like, how do you throw off the math of somebody always being able to curve something out ahead of you? I will say, I think not all of these underdogs are created equal.
Yeah, I would agree.
Unfortunately, I think that some of the colors sort of got the short end of the stick. I think that, like, for instance, Sapphire got a warded aggressive character. Not saying there's not aggressive blue decks, but, like, one of the things with blue decks is that, like, you ramp ahead of people. That card is going to be completely, well, maybe not completely useless. I doubt that card is going to see play in ramp decks. Now, that's not all.
It does give you a way to put some board pressure on early.
Certainly, but
especially if you're ramping on 2 and 4 or 2 and 3.
Certainly, but again, I don't.
But it does waste space.
Yeah, it wastes space in your deck. It's not what you want dilutes consistency. It's not what you want to be doing. You might be okay doing it on turn 1, but I think the kind of key for these cards is, like, are you okay playing this on turn 2 if you went first?
Yeah.
And it's your only 2-drop.
Yes.
Right? And so, like, that's kind of what we have to ask ourselves when considering if we're going to put these in the deck. So I think that you can look at cards like, I think the best one is objectively Angel.
Yeah.
I also think the White Rabbit is quite solid too, because we know the power of evasives. And so both of those being like, I've played a go-go on turn 2 before without being able to use its effect, and sometimes that's quite good, right? So that's basically what the White Rabbit is, right? But with the potential to put a 2/2 evasive into play on turn 1 on the draw, that's pretty good. And so I think that those two will probably be the best one. Now, again, it depends on the meta. The Liquidator which is a funny sounding. I don't know. I assume this is from Darkwing Duck. But the Liquidator is the ruby one, which is a Gaston.
Yeah.
But you can play it on, it's a 4/2 Reckless, but you can play it on turn 1. Well, that's going to be really good if Ruby needs a way to deal with Daisy Duck decks.
Yeah.
Right? So contextually, that could be what it needs. Okay, they play Daisy, I play Liquidator. They can't turn their Daisy to the left, or else I'm going to crunch it. Right? So anyways, I think that I think it's a necessary starting point. I think that it won't be enough to massively impact the play draw outside of very specific decks that can maximize those specific cards. So I'd love to see Blue Steel Aggro make the most out of both of the underdogs. I think it really can. I think Blue Steel Aggro can use both the Judy and the one that I can't remember right now. I'm sure it'll be up on the screen in the edit. It's like a weird name. I don't remember it. But it is. But the warded Fast Quester, the 2/2 with resist. Both of those are solid cards you'd love to play on turn 1, but you can also like see playing on turn 2 potentially as well, because that deck already likes to play warded characters or characters with resist or bodyguard. So like. That makes sense.
I was like, I can pull it up, and I was like, they're just going to take me way too long. Oh, wait. Yeah. Oh, wait, here we go. Splatter Phoenix?
That is it. Yes.
Yeah.
What a bizarre.
Phoenix.
Again, I think that's a Darkwing Duck character.
Yeah.
I didn't see Darkwing Ducks, unfortunately, so I don't know. But I will say, final note on it, I think Angel is really, really good, mostly because every color has songs, right? And so, okay, and with Sing Together being so useful, there is benefit for Angel in any of those decks that want to use Sing Together cards. And playing a 2/2 Singer 3 on turn 2 is not as good as playing a Singer 4, but you can use it in addition to something like Ursula Vanessa or Powerline Singer 4 or Troubadour and Amber Steel. So I think that there is I think it's an acceptable card to play on turn 2. And a great card to play on turn 1 for any of these decks, Circle of Life decks, any of these things. And so that has slightly more utility than a lot of the other ones, in my opinion. Yeah. I like it. I like the direction. I hope it works.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, and in riding off the coattails of the big spoiler drop that came out today.
Oh, yeah.
I think in the past we've all talked about how Amber is one of the weakest colors. And I think Amber's getting a ton of new tools.
Yes.
And do you think that we're gonna see Amber take off in Winterspell? I mean, Amber used to be pretty strong color.
Yes.
And so it really hurt post rotation. And so I think coming off rotation with Winterspell, is it back to its old self? Is it back in a new way?
I think both, probably. It lost Rapunzel, and that was pretty backbreaking for it.
Yeah.
We really only saw Amber in Amber Steel and Amber Emerald Dogs, but both of those were riding off of the strength of specific cards. Right. So obviously, Dogs, we were riding off of the value of the Duel Links, right? And in Amber Steel, we had some powerful Duel Links as well, Penny, Troubadour, things like that. But really, you were riding off of Tiana not having clean answers in the format. So I think that by and large, those were not indicators of Amber's strength, but rather the strength of the other color, that Amber was the most convenient pairing for what it was trying to do, right? Or the strength of the dual color card, specifically Dogs, right? So because think about it, a lot of the best Amber cards, we lost the 1-drop Quest for 2 Lilo, we lost Rapunzel, we lost Piglet, Pirate Captain.
Yep.
And so and there's others that I'm sure I'm not thinking of. We lost the Queen Shift line, right, which was very potent for non aggro decks, but even sometimes Steel Song used it,
right?
So and nothing really replaced that from a power level perspective. In fact, I think it's fair to say that Fable did very little for Amber, and so okay, no big deal. It's fine for an archetype to struggle, or for a color to struggle for a set or two. But then again, in Whispers, while we did see some cool cards get added, the best card for Amber in all of Winterspell is probably Horseman Strikes. Yeah. Because it was printed as a silver bullet for the purple problem.
Yeah.
But that specifically catapulted these decks into being semi-relevant at a mid-range level where the decks are probably like, 90% a different color. And then you splash in the 2 new good cards from Amber being Horseman Strikes and Mowgli, right? And now all of a sudden you have Hand Disruption from Mowgli, which you didn't have before, and of course you have the Horseman Strikes. And so that was really the only thing that moved the needle. But you're still chained to whatever the other color was. I think what we've seen from Amber, from the design space, is really promising. They're trying a few things. One of the cards that I think we should reference is Ohana Means Family, which is a card that is trying to replicate the Rapunzel effect, but not be the broken thing of coming in with a 1/5 body that quests for 2.
Right.
Instead, it's an action. It comes out for 1 less.
Yep.
And it can heal as much as the thing is carrying damage. So you can potentially draw. If you've got a 5 damage Diago, you can heal for 5 and draw 5. That's quite good. But what I think that we have to remember is you don't get that body attached to it. So sometimes with Rapunzel, you would be like, well, nothing's damaged, but I'm still putting a quester into play. So we'll see how much Ohana Means Family matters. I think that it's going to be a lot nicher than other people think, but it can be great for something like Amber Ruby, which has a card like Mulan that comes into play with damage on it. A new card, her dad just got previewed, also comes into play with damage on it. So that makes it a little more consistent, right? So I like the direction it's going for that. There's also some great new just stat stick cards. We have the Pocahontas line of things is all about questing without challenging. So you see that with so the aggressive front gets a little bit more from the Pocahontas, which protects your aggro investments. You see Powhatan, who comes in at a 5/5 bodyguard for 4, but he can't challenge. Well, no big deal. If you're protecting your other assets, that's great. You want those price points. So they're putting more stats on things, especially attack. And they're also investing in a few other cards. I really like the Bambi, the 3/5 for 4. It's inkable. That's the other thing. They're not making cards. They've been relatively, I'd say fair, but I'd say generous with making quality Amber cards inkable.
Yeah.
And so this set, you can see that on a lot of things. And then of course the card that got the most buzz today. Actually, I will say real fast, Akuda Edamudi, very strong for specific archetypes that want to play fast and use Angel.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's very high rolly. I think the other thing that Akuda Edamudi does, I think it's ridiculous in Infinity. It's going to probably break Infinity to a certain point. We're not big Infinity players here, but you don't need to be being able to play Cindy on 1 on the play and play this card on 2 on the play and get a 4-drop out. That's crazy. So I think that's a really strong card too, in sing decks that want to be singing. But I also think that we saw a really interesting dynamic with the card that was previewed today to great reaction fervor.
Yeah.
Which is Raging Storm.
That's what we've been calling for.
We have a board wipe back.
I mean, we've had board wipes, but this board wipe, it's a real board wipe.
And it's not a combo, because that's the other thing is it's not conditional, it's not a combo. It is an 8 cost, uninkable action that just banishes all characters, right? So it's B prep that's not a song and costs 1 more. Okay, B prep objectively better, but that's okay. And shifting it away from Ruby, which they said they wanted to take board wipes away from in the Fabled Lorecast. And interesting that they give it to Amber. I'm not really sure what the design space, what the justification.
Well, and I think them giving it to Amber is why it's not a song, because Amber has so many singers.
That would be pretty crazy.
That's pretty broken if it's an Amber all of a sudden. And so I think making it an action that's very expensive in a color that is not always used to getting typical more aggressive decks. It's not getting to that ink, so it makes you build. It's almost a build around kind of card.
I agree.
And so I think it is really interesting to see. And
but it's importantly a board wipe that doesn't require setup. It doesn't require like you to have like Under the Sea is very strong, but only works on things with 2 attack or less. So you either have to combo it with something to take out bigger things, or be okay with it just wiping little things off. Right? Prince Philip, great card, requires a combo. Right? Requires, depending on how much ink you have, it either needs you to play Malicious, Mean, and Scary and it for 12, or you need to have a shift target down, which adds a third card to the combo.
Yeah.
Right? Even the Wreck-It Ralph that we'll probably reference in a second, like that requires pieces to be treated as a board wipe. So like this doesn't do that. And that's really, I think, a important thing to highlight about this. I don't know. Truly, I don't know what to think of it from the perspective of like, where does this best fit? Obviously, with blue yellow, like a lot of people are excited. You know, okay, hey, well, it worked in Ruby Sapphire. It'll probably work in Sapphire Amber. That may be true. You can ramp up to it. You have more ink. That could be great. But I also can see it working with purple, like similar to how Ruby Amethyst used to play. Right? You have a lot of proactive card drawing things. You amass a hand size. If the board ever gets out of control, you reset the board and try again. Right? Like that's what you can do. The question is that still good in the context of this format? Right? Because this format's very different than previous formats. This format, there's a lot of card draw in purple generically that can amass cards and then immediately replay onto the board after a board wipe, right? Like if you're playing against a Blurple or a Purple Steel and you wipe and if they know that you're playing a board wipe, they can just sit there and what we call dirtle and only really play threats onto the board that draw them cards. But because there's so many threats that draw cards and they've married card draw to characters so heavily, it remains to be seen if that board wipe is enough without some other form of either resource drain, like discard, or things like that. So we'll see. But I'm tentatively optimistic about it, and I'm excited to see that direction. I think Amber is going to absolutely be relevant in the metagame at an even higher level than it was before, because it got new powerful tools that can be used in a bunch of different ways, and it already had great answers to the best color in the game being purple. So I don't see any way that Amber is not, it has an increased role in the metagame.
Yeah, well, and on the flip side, we've also seen Ruby struggle these past few metas to be relevant. I mean, it went from being one of the most prominent colors before rotation to being, just not as relevant. And so either you've seen, I mean, you talked about the Wreck-It Ralph, which we saw was like our, first board wipe. But are we seeing anything in Winterspell that you think is going to mean success for Ruby? And it's kind of this new identity that they're talking about.
Yeah, I am a little bit disappointed, if I'm being completely honest, in the cards that Ruby got. There is some promising things, no doubt, that may find their way into lists. I think that the copper is pretty cool. The 6-drop inkable 8/5 with Rush and Reckless. So it's a Maui hero to all, but for one cost more. I'm optimistic about that. I think that the Wreck-It Ralph is interesting. I think I struggle with that one a lot because it's kind of like a worse Prince Philip. Like it's a 2-card combo. And because it says banished instead of leave play, like it gets punished super hard by any of the ways that you can force things out of play without blowing them up.
Yeah.
So bounce cards, put it on the bottom of the deck, ink it, right? There's a lot more ways than in previous metagames where you can deal with things without banishing them. So like that makes me a little bit like underwhelmed, I think is the way to frame it. I do think there's some like positive things going on with the way that they're printing synergy and things. So like Ruby's getting some great synergistic cards with Gargoyles, some great synergistic cards with Boost and stuff like that. And there is the new Grab Your Bow, which I know a lot of people are buzzing about. I'm personally, in my early deck building, been struggling to fit it into lists because it competes so heavily with Headless Horseman.
Yeah.
The Ruby really wants Brawl back because Brawl could be played earlier in the game.
Right.
And because Brawl was inkable. Right? I think Brawl would be a totally fair and acceptable card to be reprinting. And Grab Your Bow is a interesting attempt to try to fix that. The problem being it is a song and it does do more damage by taking out 2 things with 2 attack or less. But you don't like Brawl was one of those cards that you were like, okay, what am I playing against? Oh, it's purple and they're going to be playing genies and rabbits. I got to have it. Oh, it's, a steel deck that's playing a lot of, Lawrence and Calhoun's and bigger things. I can just ink it.
Yeah.
You're stuck with that in the same way you're stuck with Horseman, but at least Horseman has a body.
Yeah.
So I just struggle to find that way to fit it into a deck.
Horseman has a secondary effect too by buffing characters up.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Not only is he a body, but he has a strong on-play, secondary effect.
And it's also like, if you had to choose between the two, you're probably picking the thing that has the body and the secondary effect.
Exactly.
Not the song, unless they were adding more singers. But now this is the...
Or more ways to reduce attack.
Well,
all you have
there's
is Sapphire
none...
Coil, and it marries you to... I guess there's some
Amber.
in Amber.
There's stuff in Amber, but still,
true.
You raised the good point, which is like you have to go to another color to find ways to reduce attack, and a lot of those cards have not been super successful. The Coil is a great example of one that does work, but you have to build around it as opposed to it being like spot removal. And so right now, the fact that for instance, Horseman Strikes, which we've spoke so much about, is dealing with the evasive problem head on and is inkable. It's effectively better Brawl. So why not add Brawl? I think is my thing. And you can see this in a lot of the Ruby cards that have been designed. As you scroll through a lot of the Ruby stuff, you're seeing cards that are like, hey, this isn't a great card, but it could be good, except it's uninkable. And so if you're looking at Ruby's existing archetypes, of which if you look at what was Ruby being played in this set, it's just Ruby Amethyst. No one was playing Ruby Emerald. Nobody was playing Ruby Amber. Nobody was playing Ruby Sapphire, except apparently us, right? Ruby Steel, again, it just keeps being really close, but not quite good enough. So, okay, what was the only deck that was being played in Ruby? Well, it was Ruby Amethyst, and the cards that are there to be the cards that make you want to play Ruby. It's like Horseman and Diablo, uninkables, right? Yes, you have Lumiere, the 4-drop Hercules, uninkable. So you're seeing all of these cards. For instance, for the new cards, the 4-drop Rush Maui that quests for 2, right? Uninkable. Did that card need to be uninkable? Is a 4/3 that quests for 2 with Rush? It doesn't have evasive, so it's not solving that problem, right? It's not like it can challenge ready characters or something like that. So why are we putting that uninkable tag on just so many cards? For instance, even
many cards for Ruby.
Right. Well, even the Scrooge McDuck that I mentioned earlier, that clearly requires boost investment to be good. It's uninkable. And so Ruby is getting all these cards that might be good enough to help them prop up other archetypes, but that aren't being given a chance because deck construction is going to get so limited. If you want to play at that high level against other things, you can't be fighting over a 15 to 17 uninkable count just to fit the cards in that don't do enough anyways, because you're not answering items. You're not answering evasives, and if you want to jam all those cards in that can answer all of those specific threats, you're starting to pile up the deck, and you can't quite fit in the generic good stuff that's going to get you to 20 lore.
Right.
So I struggle heavily with the direction they're taking Ruby as a Ruby fan from previous sets. I'm kind of at the point where I'm I guess I'm just not a Ruby fan anymore, which kind of stinks, you know? There's things to there's specific cards I'm interested by, but from a power level perspective, I have yet to see something that I'm jumping up in the air saying, yes, Ruby's so back. So a little bit of a bummer there.
Yeah. Speaking of new cards, I think we've seen almost all the new legendaries, or all of the legendaries I think have been previewed at this point.
Yes, all of them, yep.
All have been previewed at this point. On first look, it seems like there's some cool mechanics and there's some fun things, but it doesn't feel quite like Whispers, where you were all right, every single one of these is a banger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we literally Whispers last set. I think on this podcast, we were well, better bust out the savings account. We're going to have to buy a lot of this set.
Yeah.
Does not feel that way.
And so not that there's not a lot of great cards. I think there's a lot of really great cards that are coming to the meta.
Yes.
But legendaries, as far as we talked about a Hanamin's family. It's definitely going to have, I think it replaces what Rapunzel used to be, but it's a little bit different, so less broken.
Yep.
So it's going to be more niche. This Moana seems really interesting. I think it's a really cool mechanic. I think it's going to get a lot of judges called because people. I feel like there's a lot of people that like the wording is very fast.
You're like,
and loose.
wait, can I just like? What if I?
It's very.
Can I use sail on it? And
right.
can I TPO? Can I TPO from the discard pile?
Yeah,
that's ramping, right?
That was there was a lot of questions that came from that one.
It's your manual ink for turn.
That's it.
So so for sail, yes. For TPO, no. Right.
It's a second card. That's not because it's not the act of inking.
You can't do it with Cindy.
Ink again.
You cannot use Cindy to do it.
But it's still, it's still really powerful.
And it is a princess.
It is a princess. You're not losing your hand advantage. So
Cindy into Moana, pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Actually, like legitimately pretty darn good, I think.
Princesses is going to be a thing we have to watch out for.
Yeah, but like even just other blue decks, Baja maybe, Blue Steel, like being able to like go, truly going Cindy, you ink, you play Cindy, and then at the end of turn, you ramp with Cindy, you start your turn at 5, you play Moana, and then instead of inking for turn from your hand, which is always the tough thing with blue decks, right? You run out of cards, you ink the sail that you played on turn 2, or the develop that you played on turn 1.
Yeah.
And it's a princess, so you can still get Cindy's end of turn trigger.
There you
go. So like really cool. I think Moana is probably one of those cards that's going to get like, I think the price point's going to start high.
Yeah.
We'll
see
where
start
it
high,
lands.
and then we'll see where it lands with the meta. But are there any other ones that you're excited about?
What I'll say on the front of the legendaries, I don't think there's any legendary that seems like a guaranteed home run. Mm-hmm. Like nothing that seems like the power level of Demona or the power level of Goliath or Hades or even Webby. Which, by the way, Webby last set. Very strong, very good at doing specific things and in specific shells, but nothing even seems as strong as Webby. Now, I'm sure I'll eat those words in a month when turns out Moana's broken or turns out, Boost Scrooge is broken, right? Maybe, but like at surface level, a lot of them are focused on specific niches.
Yeah.
Right? Which is good. And I like that. I like that for legendary design because not only does it keep the card prices a little bit lower, it also means like you're not sitting there, like your play group won't be scrambling for all of the same cards and fighting, for like who pulls the Cindy from the same box. Oh man, somebody already pulled a Cindy from the box. I don't want to buy any packs from that box.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it won't feel like that because you could be like, well, I want to build a boost deck. Well, I want to build a location deck. Hey, tradesies, right? Like that can kind of come back, and it'll create a better entry point hopefully for new players, because if the prices are truly lower for this set, that's going to make it easier for people to catch up because they probably spent a lot of money on last set. So I am optimistic for several. I like the Blue Scrooge and the Green Donald for the boost strategies. The Blue Scrooge being an enabler, very powerful enabler if you've got boost characters already established, and then the Green Donald being a payoff for having boost things already in play. The Green Donald's a little slow, but at 4, I think you can get away with it in multiple matchups. So, like, I think you can still maybe make the Green Donald work. The Blue Scrooge is just objectively good if you lean into boost enough. I really like Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. I don't think he's going to be a top tier card, but items, they're clearly trying to take items into a non-toxic direction. Like, it's not going to be the, like, lucky dime of old. Instead, they're trying to like let you use items to play a mid-range archetype, which is really cool. And Darkwing Duck is just so perfect for that. He has the item synergy, but he's also just standalone good. He can be a 6/8 body that can challenge ready villains, which is crazy because there's so many relevant villains in the set.
Yeah, for sure.
And a 6/8 body takes them all out and lives.
Yeah.
Like, so that's just really cool.
He's a thick boy.
Yeah. I guess if I had to bet on one legendary to be the most meta relevant by the end of the set, it would actually be Pocahontas.
Okay.
Which I think for Amber aggro strats will be really good. What I especially like about it is that I think it will be a amazing fit for Amber Amethyst Hyper Aggro, which actually gets tons of support. I think they pushed a lot of aggro Amethyst so that they didn't accidentally help Blurple and Purple Steel and things like that.
Yeah.
And so you've got like you've got a quality Pocahontas in both purple and in amber. So that gives you 2 great shift targets for it.
Right.
And the ability to like in a hyper aggro deck, you're not challenging anyways. You're questing with everything.
Right.
But then the ability to shift Pocahontas in and say, actually, you can't challenge me for a whole turn is really strong.
Yeah.
It's very, very strong. So I think in a very specific deck, I think it has the highest likelihood of being a card that like opens an archetype and defines an archetype.
Right.
In the same way that we saw like Kita defined like the Under the Sea deck, the Amber Emerald Under the Sea deck, like it wasn't played in other things,
right?
But it was essential for that one.
Exactly.
So I think that's good design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should talk a little bit about what they've previewed as far as future sets before we wrap up. I think they've officially announced that the next set will be Attack of the Vines. Or no, it's Wilds Unknown and then Attack of the Vines. So Wilds Unknown, we know we're getting the Toy Story IP, Brave IP, and Incredibles, which is really exciting. I think this will be the first set with Pixar.
Yeah.
Wilds Unknown will be the first with Pixar.
Yeah, and they've already previewed a couple cards just to get you hyped for it.
Right.
There's Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Wait, I haven't seen the Buzz Lightyear.
Oh yeah, I'll show it to you after this.
Okay.
It's cool. And Elastigirl from the
cool.
Incredibles. So yeah, already showed off a few cards and then a playmat for Brave.
Oh.
And Merida looks so good on that playmat that got either spoiled intentionally or leaked or something.
Movies, so.
This is a must buy playmat in my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So that will be with Wilds Unknown. I also think they're doing a playmat for Super Goof. I think I saw that as well.
Oh, cool!
Because they're doing so many. They're adding like the super tag, right? And
Fingers
we saw
crossed
that.
We get Super Goof back.
That would be a really fun reprint, I think, and flavorful too, because we have supers in the Darkwing Duck stuff, and a lot of the villains there have the super tag.
Yeah.
And you'll see that as well. Obviously, on like Elastigirl, for instance, has the super tag. I think Jack also had a card spoiled.
Oh,
so
cool.
yeah, I'm a big Incredibles fan, so that's very exciting.
I'm excited for Pixar in general. And then of course we've got Monsters Inc. coming in Attack of the Vines, and then Coco in Q4 of this year.
Yeah, so that'll be the fall / like the late fall winter set.
Yeah.
Around Christmas time, and Coco's we haven't heard the title of it yet because they always keep that under wraps.
Right.
But yeah, Attack of the Vines really cool. I'm thinking you speculated that you think Maleficent might be the big bad because because
are we will it be time for another?
Well, I don't know because
villain heist thing.
Yeah, well, so we had Ursula, right?
We had Ursula, and then we had Jafar,
and those were always the summer sets, right?
Okay.
But it doesn't seem like Wilds Unknown is doing that, so maybe they're shifting the like villain set back like to the fall.
We have our speculations that Fabled was an add-in set,
which would then which would confirm that
about,
if we think Attack of the Vines,
because we've talked about how it seems interesting. Now this is all speculation.
Yes,
this
pure
is
speculation.
Pure speculation. We have no insight into this. This is just like tinfoil. Put on your tinfoil hat with us.
But we're also marketers, and we understand.
We also understand how
deadlines
things work.
Yeah.
So, but it's very interesting that last set Whispers came out with a lot of Halloween themed stuff, but it came in outright after, just like Whispers or Winterspell is coming out with all of the Christmas themed stuff, even though that would have come out in like late November. So if Fabled hadn't been kind of slotted in there, then these would have been one set back, and therefore like they would have been a little bit more on theme with
it would have made sense a little bit more.
It would have made a little more sense time wise. So if that were the case, because Wilds Unknown, that'll come out? It'll be this summer. It'll be August.
Yeah. No, it'll be spring. So it'll be Wilds Unknown because we're getting this February, March, April. It'll be May.
Okay, got it.
And then June, July, August.
So Attack of the Vines would be.
Attack of the Vines would be.
That would be the potential.
That would be August.
Villain heist game. Well, that's what I was saying. Attack of the Vines, it would go on board with Maleficent.
Yes, but it would be like not every 4. That would be the. Oh no, I guess it. Attack of the Vines will be the rotation set, so we'll rotate with Attack of the Vines because it would have been Fabled. It would have been Fabled, Whispers, Winterspell, and Wilds, and then to start the next rotation cycle, we will have Attack of the Vines in the same role as like Fabled was.
Oh, okay.
So normally, like. The Reign of Jafar was right before rotation. Was the set before rotation, so that's why it's thrown off a little bit. But that's the Fabled theory is holding up.
Just saying.
So yeah. Anyways,
you don't have to tell us if we're right or wrong. We know we're right.
We think we're right. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So cool new stuff. Excited for all of these properties. I'm sure there will be more. I'm personally holding out for Ratatouille, and hoping for that one.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be really fun. I want them to find like a cooking mechanic. Like I want a cooking mini game.
I want it.
Figure that one out, Ravensburger.
Where a small animal gets to puppet you.
Yes, that's right. Oh my. Oh, that would actually be kind of sick if Remy comes down and you get to like control what a opponent's character does.
Oh, that's
like you can either quest or challenge with one of their characters. That'd be really cool.
That's crazy.
Puppeteer Remy. Anyways, I think we've had about enough of this. We've been going on for a while.
Yeah.
But
I think, like we mentioned before, I think our goal is to now make this our monthly podcast. So we'll tune in. It'll be a little bit longer form to catch up on everything. And then, you might see a surprise episode here and there. But so we will be back in a few weeks after the set comes out, once we've tried some stuff, and we'll talk about the new set. Please follow, like, subscribe, comment, interact, share with your friends, share with your grandmothers, whoever you want to share it with. That'd be impressive.
I want to see the grandma commenting on this video,
please,
y'all.
And leave a review. Be nice to us. We're just.
If you're a grandma listening, I want to see that in the comments.
Be nice. No. Yeah. So I think that's it. Signing out.
Yeah. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.
Catch you later.
Bye.